Inexplicably born without arms, Matt Stutzman was put up for adoption and then welcomed into the home of Leon and Jean Stutzman. Years later, the result is an extraordinary young man, a family man who can do virtually anything with his feet. Though originally fitted for prosthetics as a child, Matt found them cumbersome and unnatural. Today, perhaps the most remarkable thing about Matt is that he lives without prosthetics in a completely unadapted world. This includes eating, grooming, and writing, as well as playing the guitar, car maintenance, and of course, extraordinary abilities with the bow and arrow. Matt's original interest in marksmanship began when he learned to shoot a gun and then taught himself to shoot a penny at 50 yards away. Eventually, it became his passion and evolved into his dream to become the world's best archer. Though many argue otherwise, Matt considers his physical challenges to be advantageous to archery. As a member of the 2012 U.S. Paralympic archery team, Matt competed in the 2012 London Games that culminated with a silver medal. Dubbed the Armless Archer, Matt's remarkable story has captured the attention of media around the world. A natural public speaker, he regularly uses remarkable demonstrations of his foot skills to engage the audiences of all kinds who are left inspired and believing anything is possible. FFA members, help me in thanking our sponsor, Kemin Industries, and welcoming our keynote speaker, Mr. Matt Stutzman.
How come no one's clapping? There we go. So, I've always been known as a troublemaker, so I'm going to kick this party off real right by going, how about those Hawkeyes, baby? Yeah! Yeah! Now, I heard someone booing over there, but they're lucky because my arm span's like this, and I can't quite reach you. So you're fine for today, but I did bring a bow, so be careful. Thank you so much for having me. This is amazing. I can't see, so I think that's normal too, but that's okay. Decisions. Today I'm going to talk to you about decisions. Every day we face decisions. Some big, some small. Some have huge impact on our lives, and some will never impact us again. 2 weeks ago, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, at an archery competition. The distance that I'm shooting is 50 meters. That's about 55 yards. The bullseye is the size of a CD. We are there for 10 days. We are shooting constantly. Whoever wins the tournament, the top 3 archers in the United States get to go to the World Championships in Netherlands, which is very important because that's where we earn our slots for Team USA for the upcoming Olympic and Paralympic Games that happen in 2020 in Tokyo. That's right. After the first couple days, it's really hot, it's dry, and I've been shooting a lot of arrows, and I started to notice that I hold the bow with my toes, and I see that my calluses are starting to split open, and I'm getting blisters, and it's making shooting really difficult. I go into my last day. I had started off first, but going into my last day, I was in 13th place. My feet hurt so bad, it was like hard to hold up the bow. In fact, before I put Band-Aids and tape on them, I actually was bleeding on my bow, and it was so painful, and I thought to myself, what am I doing here? I should just go home. As I was thinking about that, we had about 15 arrows left to go, and I was aiming down at the target, and time slowed down, and I was able to think, what am I doing here? Why am I doing it? And let me tell you my story. I was born in 1982 without any arms, except much cuter, because babies are always cuter. I was born as you see me now. My birth parents were told that it was going to cost millions of dollars to raise me. I was going to need specialists to help me with everything in my life, from tying my shoes, brushing my teeth, even feeding me. And because that seemed too much for them, at 3 months old, they put me up for adoption. At 13 months old, this family walks in, and they decided that they were going to adopt me. And I've always wondered in my brain, what makes somebody walk into an orphanage and decide we're going to adopt somebody without any arms? Now, it wasn't until about 5 years ago, I'm sitting at home, I'm watching at that time, he's like a 2-year-old son, and he's walking around, and he steps on a spider. And he bends down, he picks up the spider, and he puts it in his mouth. It's right. I jump up, I run over to him, and as I'm standing over him, his name is Alex, by the way, I'm standing over him looking at him, and I pause for a second, and I think to myself, what is more gross, him eating a spider or me using my toes to get it out? I went back to the couch and I sat down and I said, don't tell Mom, but keep chewing. And in this family, we eat what we kill, so good for you, son. I grew up just like every other kid. I grew up on a farm. We had cows, chickens, pigs, you name it. My parents at a very early age decided to not treat me any differently than my other brothers and sisters, which, by the way, I have 7 of them. That's right. That's more than I can count on this hand. Got to use my foot. I don't know if it was because of something that happened to me when I was young, or maybe just sibling rivalry, but I always had this burning desire to want to be the best in the world at something. My parents had a motto: if you want to climb the apple tree, that's fine, but if you climb up it by yourself, you have to climb down it by yourself. And because they went with that, they literally allowed me to try anything I wanted to try. I was 11 years old-ish, and I woke up one morning, and I'm like, I think today I'm going to be a professional bull rider. I talked my younger brother, his name is John, I talked my younger brother into going with me out into the barn and catching the biggest bull we had on the farm. His name is Billy. Now, of course, I was young and he looked big. He's probably like 1,000 pounds or something like that. But I remember grabbing a 5-gallon bucket of feed and I had it on my shoulder and I brought it in and I set it by the fence and he's eating. And I climb up the fence and I get on the back of Billy. Now, I'm playing the part completely. I'm wearing jeans, cowboy hat, long sleeve flannel shirt. You know, I was like, I'm going to do this right. As I'm sitting on the back of Billy, I have a thought goes through my mind, like, how am I going to hold on? I hadn't thought about it yet, and I was already on the back of this thing, and it was breathing. So I was like, and I wasn't scared, but, so my brother's like, hey, on TV, they take this rope, they put it around his belly, and then you could hold on to the rope. I'm like, good idea. So we tie the rope around his belly, and now that it's all secured, I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, okay, so how am I going to hold on to the rope? My brother, and I'm sure you all have siblings like this, he's like, hey, dude, let's take your sleeve and tie it to the rope. Now, mind you, I wanted to be the best bull rider in the world. So I'm like, make sure you double knot it. I don't want to fall off. I think that's why they call it growing up. I'm not for sure yet. As I am tied to this thing, my adrenaline starts pumping. I'm feeling excited because I'm about to ride this bull for more than 8 seconds, and it's going to be amazing. And I slid up tight, and I lean back, and I put my left arm over my shoulder. That's what you do on TV, right? About that time, I hear a little bit of noise, and I see my dad running out of the house. Now, in my entire life, out of all the things I wanted to do, one morning I woke up and told him I wanted to be Michael Jordan, and he bought me a basketball hoop and basketball and told me to begin practicing. So every dream I've had, he's never said no. But for some reason on this day, as he was running toward me, and I could see his mouth moving, but I couldn't quite understand what he was saying, I actually started to re-guess what I was about to do. Like, maybe this isn't a good idea. The second I thought, this is not a good idea, I hear this noise, and it goes like this. Now, let me tell you what that is. I grew up on a farm. We had pigs, and sometimes we had to put the pigs on the trailer to take them to market, and after a little bit of stubbornness, you got this like thingamajigger that kind of shocks them to motivate them to move. Let that soak in just a little. My brother thought it would be cool to not only double tie my sleeve to the rope, but then I hear and we fly out of the barn at like 1,000,000 miles an hour. I pass my dad as he's running in, and everything is in slow motion, and I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry. My brother thought it would be funny to shock this bull in the rump, and then the hat went flying. The next thing I know, I wake up on the ground. That was my first concussion. I remember like hearing my brother laugh because it's distinct, and of course it's funny to him. At least he has arms to break his fall, right? My back is itchy, and I look down and I realize that I'm not wearing a shirt. And the shirt is still tied to Billy, is flopping in the wind as my dad's trying to catch him. What amazes me the most is that when we go back to no one says nothing. This was at like noon. No one says nothing to me. And we're eating supper later that night, and no one is still talking. No one's saying nothing. I'm pretty sure my parents have realized that I've learned my lesson or something. And we just get done finishing eating, and my older brother says, "May I be excused?" And as he stands up to slide away from the table, he goes, "John, by the way, those were some pretty good knots." I felt pretty lucky growing up like I did. I learned a lot of things from my parents, from my family, and it really helped motivate me to push me into literally trying anything. I remember the next day after the bull riding incident, I told my dad I was going to be a NASCAR driver. We got a car, began learning how to drive, and I put my right foot on the steering wheel, and then my left foot runs the gas and the brake. In fact, I got so good at it that I taught myself how to drift, right? And I remember going on my 16th birthday, I remember going into driver's ed, and I was like, this is going to be awesome. Now, the instructor obviously seemed a bit nervous when he got in the car with me and saw the future NASCAR champion with his right foot on the steering wheel. I remember looking over at him, and I said, because I wanted him to hear me, "Are you ready?" The second he said yes, I floored his car. We took off down the back straightaway, as I call it. We come up to the first corner, and I realize I'm going way too fast, so I hit the emergency brake, and we're now sliding sideways around this cone, and everything starts to slow down. And I remember slowly looking to the right with his big smile, like, oh. He wasn't smiling. His clipboard was nowhere in his hands, and he was holding on to that handle up here. and he was like screaming at the top of his lungs. I get done with the course. I'm the fastest person there. I didn't hit any cones. I feel super excited. I jumped out of the car and I'm like, woo! Yeah! I go home and I tell my dad, like, Dad, guess what? Jeff Gordon better watch out. He said, son, guess what? I'm not allowed to go back to driver's ed. That was devastating for me. That was my first real kind of shock for me of what life was going to be like. It wasn't because I was a great driver. I mean, I might have scared him a little bit. But I was being judged for what I didn't have versus what I could do. And it hurt. It was the first time in my life that I realized that no matter what I do, I'm going to be just looked at differently. But I made the decision to keep focusing on other things and keep trying and trying and trying. And eventually, in 2010, as I'm sitting at home on the couch with my two sons, I have no job. I'm trying to figure out how to make ends meet. And I see this guy on TV with a bow, and he's out in the woods, and he's harvesting a deer, and a thought goes off in my brain, and I think to myself, why can't I do that? I've tried everything else. I have nothing else to lose. I get a bow. Within a week or so, I teach myself how to shoot. I go out in the woods. I'm successful. I harvest a deer. I'm now feeling motivated and exciting. I'm feeling great as a man who's now taking care of his kids like he should be by putting food on the table. And I decided to go to my first archery tournament like a week later. I did not get last. It was like I didn't win. On the way home, I hit 3 deer with my only car at the same exact time, totaling it. An hour later, I get a call from a manufacturer that says they wanted to sponsor me, and who doesn't like free stuff? But my hand was up. I remember getting this bow, and I showed my buddy this bow, and I said, check out this. This is like the newest, latest, greatest. It's so amazing. And he says to me, Matt, the reason why they sponsor you is because you have no arms, you draw attention to their products. It's not because you're good. That was the truth. I wasn't that good. I could hit a balloon, but I can't hit a quarter. And I wanted to be known as the best archer in the world, followed by, oh, by the way, did you know he does it with no arms? I made the decision to get to work. I practiced and practiced. I shot arrow after arrow, honing my craft, getting better and better. And as the months started to go by, I realized that archery was it. Archery is what I was meant to do. That was my professional bull riding. That was my best basketball player. That's my NASCAR. I remember in 2012, I went to my first trials ever. Didn't think I was going to win. I just was showing up to see if I could make an Olympic or Paralympic Games. And I ended up missing the world record by 2 points, only like 2 years after I had begun shooting. And I ended up winning trials. I went all the way into London, which was my first Games. That distance was 70 meters. Still a small bullseye. I qualified first, missed the Olympic record by 7 points. And I fought my way all the way through until I got to the gold medal match. As I was shooting, I was like, wow, I cannot believe I'm here right now. What if I had made the decision after the basketball failure or the bull riding incident or the driving? What if I had made the decision to just give up or quit? Boy, I'm sure glad I made the decision not to give up. I didn't win a gold that day, mainly because the guy I was shooting against was cheating because he had both of his arms. But I did win a silver medal. And I remember going home being very proud of it. I remember showing everybody and thinking, this is amazing. This is why I do what I do. Since then, I've gone on to set multiple records at 50 meters, 20 yards, I also have the Guinness World Record for the longest accurate archery shot ever, where I hit a bullseye at 310 yards. Thanks. Thank you. I was the first person with a physical disability to make an able-bodied archery team. I also was the first person with a physical disability to never miss any points and shoot a perfect score at essentially the largest tournament in the world. 2016, I made my second games. I was the crowd favorite, even though we were in Brazil. I didn't have too good of a qualification end. I ended up qualified fourth, a couple points out of first. And I made it into my second match, and I remember how eliminations works is you shoot 15 arrows, 3 arrows at a time, and then whoever has the most points after the 15 arrows wins. And I was shooting my last 3 arrows, and I was up by a point. I shoot a 10, he shoots a 10. I shoot a 9, he shoots a 10. He shoots another 10, and now I know in my brain that I have to shoot a 10 to win, a 9 to tie, which forces a 1 arrow shoot off, or an 8, I go home. I remember thinking that I got this in the bag. Now, you get 20 seconds during the finals like that. You get 20 seconds to shoot each arrow. If I have a coach, it's his job to count down for me. At 10, I get a 10-second warning, and then 5, 4, 3, and so forth. And I was aiming at the target, and I heard the 10-second warning, and then the wind picked up, so I adjusted a little bit, and I started thinking to myself, this guy's about to lose. And I shoot. The arrow leaves my bow at almost 200 miles per hour. The crowd goes crazy. They all start cheering. And I looked at my monitor and realized that I had shot an 8. So they were cheering for him. Once again, I was devastated. Like I had just spent 4 years of my life shooting hundreds of thousands of arrows a year. 8 hours a day in that chair right there, shooting and shooting and shooting, preparing myself for that moment. And just like that, it's over without anything. It wasn't until later on that afternoon when they brought me my arrows back, and I realized that arrow number 10 had a broken knock. The knock is the plastic device that connects the arrow to the bow. So it's very important. And if that wouldn't have broke, I probably would have shot a 10 and hopefully would have went on to win a medal. I was so mad that I was like, I got to quit. I can't do this. What am I doing? It's archery. I could be somewhere else right now. And I got home, and my son comes over and is like, dude, you're awesome. And I realized that I had to make another decision. I had to decide to shoot again. And I got back on the horse, or the bull, and I started shooting, and I shot, and I shot, and I shot. Now the next games comes up next year in 2020 in Tokyo. And I'm hoping for a different result, but there's a lot of stuff that has to go on before I know if I actually get to go. And one of them is the trials that I was at 2 weeks ago. My foot hurts, bleeding. I can't hold my bow. When I shoot, it just falls on the ground. And I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing? And I squeak out the last 15 arrows. And about 30 minutes later, USADA knocks on my shoulder and says, sir, we have to test you. And the only reason why they were testing me is because I had won by 1 point. I had won trials, even though I wasn't feeling good. But I made the decision to not give up then either. There's lots of people in this room right now, and they're all faced with decisions. Some are big, some are small. Some are going to impact you differently. Some are going to maybe never impact you again, but we all have to face those decisions. If you run into an obstacle, only you and you alone, based on your decisions, can control what you do and change the outcome. I think about all the times that I could have quit. I remember walking in one time to get a job, and they're like, "Oh, you don't have arms, we can't hire you." And it was for like a driving job, and I was like, "I totally am qualified for that." And they said, "Well, if you had prosthetics, we would hire you." And the last time I wore prosthetics, I was 8, and I took them to show and tell just because I would be the only person in the room that could take his arms off, and thought that was cool. Saw this girl I liked, went to go give her a hug, and miscalculated the distance between me and her, and I right hooked her in the jaw, and that was her first concussion. But I think about all the decisions that I made throughout my life. In fact, I still make decisions every single day about what I need to do to make myself better. And I think about all the people that supported me. And I think about all the things I went through. Trust me, everybody in this room has and deals with the same thing. You have to make a conscious choice to decide to make yourself better. Can't let the hurdles, can't let the hills you have to climb, you have to get over it. You have to figure out how to push past. You find something as motivation to push you until you finally get over that hill and you start to succeed. Success doesn't happen unless you make the conscious decision to make yourself better. You guys are making my hands sweaty. Actually hit the target. That was good. Does anybody want to stand up there with an apple next? No takers? I'm just letting you know I'm not going to get in trouble because I don't leave fingerprints. I've been saving that one. If I can pick up a bow and arrow and compete against the best in the world, shooting against guys that have arms, in a sport that you wouldn't believe or think that an armless man can do, what's your excuse? Why aren't you making yourself better? I just have one thing to say. Everybody in this room needs to decide your way to success. Thank you so much, guys. You were awesome. Go Hawkeyes! Woo!
Mr. Stutzman, we can't thank you enough for your inspiring message here today and sharing your amazing talents with us. Your ability to spread a smile across any of our members from across the state is second to none. On behalf of the Iowa FFA, we'd like to present you with this conference gift.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Stutzman.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Thank you.